Seem to have a lot of ducks at this lake again, but I don't seem to have any whitetail. Hey guys, we're back here on the Hunter Call the Wild, and I'm Lady Legend. Today we are in Layton Lakes, and today we are looking for our whitetail zones to set up for the Whitetail Great One grind here in Layton Lakes. And let me tell you, finding your whitetail zones in Layton is not an easy venture. It is a very, very time-consuming thing to do, and I know a lot of you guys get very frustrated with it, so I'm hoping by making today's video, it will make the process easier for you. So I am going to share with you a map with all of my whitetail zones that I have found here in Layton, and I don't have them all yet, guys. But we will continue looking for our zones during today's video, and hopefully, by sharing my map with you, it will help you find your zones. Now, you're not going to have exactly the same zones as me, but you should have zones in somewhat the same areas, and it really should help you to find at least some of your zones. Now, if you do enjoy today's video, guys, or learn anything at all, I'm going to ask you to do one thing. Smash that like button. It is super amazing for the algorithm, and I really do appreciate it. So thanks, guys, for that, and let's head right into it. Okay guys, so we are right now at basically the bottom of the river down here in Renaki, and I do have a discovered whitetail zone here, so I'm not actually going to use a tent. I can just run right from the outpost here and jump into my tripod. So I have been having a lot of people ask me what the easiest map, what the best map is to set up for the Whitetail Great One grind. Now, there are a lot of factors to consider. Before the last update, I definitely would have said Rancho, and I think probably it still is Rancho. Now, Rancho has really changed since the last update, guys. Before the update, you would only find whitetail on 8 lakes in Rancho. That's what it was like when I did my Great One grind in Rancho. I did finally get the Great One whitetail, but it took me 4,576 kills alone in Rancho, and I actually killed 2,700 in Layton before that for one Great One whitetail, so I worked very hard. So we are going to set up a grind for another Great One here in Layton, and I'm hoping that it won't be so hard this time. Finding your zones is super labor intensive. It takes so many hours. It can take more than 40 hours to find all your whitetail zones in Layton. That's a lot of time. And the reason it is so time consuming, especially for Layton, is that whitetail can literally be on any piece of water on the map. I have seen them drink on pieces of water as tiny as this speck right here. I've seen them drink there. You have to check everywhere in Layton, every water source, for your whitetail zones, and sometimes more than once, so it is very, very time-consuming and a very difficult thing to do. They are going to be along a defined edge of water, whereas in Layton, there aren't really defined edges. There is water everywhere. So it is still easier to find your zones in Rancho than Layton, I think, and Mississippi, there are actually, I understand, 70 drink zones for whitetail in Mississippi. That's insane. And if you don't find all of your zones, guys, what will happen is when you start your grind, your whitetail will not respawn, and that is very frustrating. That is why it is so important to find your zones first before you set up and start your grind. You want to set up with the very best, most accessible zones. You don't need to farm everyone. It isn't even possible to do that now. We aren't allowed enough tents and tripods to do that, so you want to set up for maybe 10 to 15 zones, as many as you can get through in one-time rotation. So here in Layton, whitetail drink from 12 until 16 or 16:30. Since they were updated, we do get 1 extra hour of drink time for whitetail, which is pretty sweet. So I would still say that Rancho is probably the easiest map to set up on, but that doesn't make it the best map. Layton is definitely an amazing map. It is just more advanced, and it is going to take you more time. It is more difficult in Layton. But Mississippi is not the easiest. With 70 zones, that's a lot of zones to find and set up for, and it is very thick there. So guys, what I do when I'm looking for my whitetail zones is I look at the map and I actually put a waypoint on where drink zones are, because drink zones like to show up on top of other drink zones, and that just gives me an idea of where I should be looking. Now, if you don't have any drink zones discovered, that is not going to help you. Then I am paying close attention. I'm listening for any sounds, mating calls, warning calls, picking up like that right there, just in case it's whitetail, picking up every zone indicator, and yes, jackrabbits do drink at the same time, at least till 14:30, so you are going to run into a lot of jackrabbit need zones, but you want to be listening, you want to be looking, and tracks are super important when you are finding your zones. I probably found more than half of my zones from tracks here in Layton, because when you pick up a whitetail track, it will more than likely, if you are hunting during whitetail drink time, lead you to a drink zone. And you want to follow it and find that zone. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you the power of tracking to find a zone. So I was over at these two lakes right here by Norden Mines, and I picked up a whitetail track. And instantly I thought, okay, maybe I have whitetail around these two lakes, but I don't seem to. So I followed the tracks. It is still whitetail drink time, and I followed them all the way over here, and look what we found. We found a whitetail zone. So definitely follow those tracks, guys. They will definitely help you find your whitetail zones. And this is where we found this zone right here. Okay guys, we actually just got a warning call from whitetail, and I'm actually 80 meters from this zone that I just marked to look to see if it might be a whitetail zone, and it actually looks like it is. Will you look at that? We did find a whitetail zone. That is super strange. Look at that, guys. That says it is a jackrabbit zone, and it is already a discovered whitetail zone, but it isn't showing me. Now, I found my whitetail zones about a couple months ago, and then I ended up going and doing the red deer grind, and now I don't remember where the zones are, and they aren't all showing up on the map, so be aware of that. That's a beautiful whitetail, holy. But you really shouldn't shoot any whitetail until you find all of your zones, because if you do, they won't respawn for one until you have all your zones. Number two is once you have all your whitetail zones found and you start shooting deer, they will only respawn into the zones that you have shot from. But if you are missing zones, they can actually respawn anywhere at all, and you won't know where your respawns are going, so you really don't want to shoot deer until you've found all your zones. So if that tempts you, leave your rifle at home while you are scouting. I can't believe that didn't give me a zone. That is fascinating. Let me show you where we are. So what I'm actually doing is marking every zone on a separate map so that I can show you guys at the end, because I'm never gonna remember. I think I'm gonna have to put a tripod here so that I remember that that's a whitetail zone. That's what we're gonna do. So what I'm doing, guys, is I'm running around and picking up the old tripods from my last whitetail grind that I don't need anymore. But it is very important to mention that when you are purchasing tents and tripods, you always want to buy the same color variation because they stack. Carrying around 15 tents or one tent of the same color variation weigh the exact same, so that is why it is so very important. This is the whitetail zone that doesn't tell me it's a whitetail zone, and I'm gonna drop a tripod so that I'll remember that there are whitetail there. And that's not the only zone that has done that to me. This right here, that is also a whitetail zone, but it doesn't show on the map. So that is frustrating. So I'm actually gonna have to run around and figure out where my whitetail zones, because I know I had 31 found and then I found another 8, but only 31 or 32 are showing up on the map. So I think I have several zones that aren't even showing up as whitetail zones. So I am gonna have to report that to EW. So if that is happening to you guys, just letting you know that it is happening to me too, and to be aware of it. So when I am looking for my zones, guys, I actually just carry the 308 with me. I do have the Argus and the Hyperion. I do carry the Grunt Collar. Both of my binoculars, I just carry them out of habit. I don't actually need my Gen Zeros. And I do carry tents and tripods with me. Okay guys, we have a beautiful whitetail zone right here. Now when you're setting up for your zones, you want to keep in mind how long it is going to take you to get over to your kills to pick them up. So I don't really want to set up here and shoot across the water, because then I'm gonna have to run all the way around or put a tent on both sides, and I really can't afford to put too many tents down because we're only allowed to put 16 max down, and that is not a lot. Now, we used to have an 8 tent limit, I do remember that, and we did get it doubled, so I guess we should count ourselves lucky. Whitetail! Are you going to a zone? So when you see whitetail traveling, just watch them. Follow them, but don't bother them, don't spook them. And definitely don't shoot them. You want to find their zone. So I think we're going to get a new whitetail zone here. This is absolutely perfect. Stop and drink. You can do it. Look how elusive this whitetail zone is. They are going to drink in here behind the trees, guys. Now, another way to find your zones, and this way works really well, but it does involve a lot of running around, is by picking up your zone indicators. You can do this during whitetail drink time or right after. For probably a few hours afterwards, those whitetail zone indicators are going to stay on your map. I actually don't know how long they stay on the map. If anyone does know, let me know in the comments. I would actually love to know that. So guys, what I do is I put a waypoint on my whitetail zone, and then I know when I'm exactly 250 meters away, and I drop my tent. And I like to put my tripod 175 meters away. I'm just going to check this need zone indicator and make sure that it is not whitetail, it's rabbits. Now guys, if you don't have the money to buy tripods when you are setting up for a grind, don't worry about it. All you need to start with are 16 tents. You can earn the money and put tripods down as you're doing your grind. Just be careful not to blow out your zone. You can only kill 3 animals. The 4th will kill the zone when you're not in a hunting structure. Oh, look at that! Whitetail! And it does not show on the map. That is so crazy. Man, this is making it so difficult. So since this is a whitetail zone, guys, what I think I'm going to do is pull my tent, put it over here, and then I can come and target this zone, and then target this zone and this zone from right here and use all 3 zones if these are zones I do decide to use in my grind. I'm not even going to decide which zones I'm going to use until I have them all discovered. But I am definitely setting up to access as many zones as I possibly can with my 16 tents. So if you can use 1 tent for 3 zones, absolutely that is what you want to do. Because even if you're not using them in your grind, you may end up using them as a backup zone when you do lose zones. That way you can continue your grind and not have to stop and look for zones all the time. And look at that, guys, I ran away from the zone and I already have whitetail in this zone. And it just isn't gonna tell me. That is so interesting. Okay guys, so these are the zones that I have found for whitetail drinking on my Layton map. Now, your zones won't be exactly the same, but this definitely should give you a basis of where to look for your zones. Now, there are about 35 zones here. I think I do have more, but I can't find them all, so I'm gonna have to search. But this should definitely help you find your zones, and I am not covering up any zones with graphics, guys. If I'm covering up an area on the map, there are no whitetail underneath. So there you have it, guys. I really hope today's guide does help you to find more of your whitetail zones in Layton, and we will definitely see you guys in the next one. If you guys would like to learn amazing hotspots for every species in Call of the Wild, definitely click on these Where and When super guides. Take care, guys.